your main event. Introducing the hosts of Wrestling with Freddie, Jeff Dye, and Freddie Prinze Jr.
All right, Jeff, we've been gone a long time, and while we were gone, everything happened. And yes, we're going to discuss everything that happened, every single thing that happened, but not today, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be on Unsanctioned Thursdays where there are no rules. Today is WrestleMania predictions, storylines. We're going to get into it right now. I'm super excited, Jeff. It's so great to see your face again, sir. How are you?
It's good to see you. I've missed you. I've missed the listeners, the comments, the X posts. Are they called tweets anymore? I don't know. The X posts. I think it's time we hit them with a finally Freddie has come back to wrestling. Man, people have been missing your takes and missing your commentary and missing your inside scoop on this stuff. And I've missed listening to it and getting to see you. It's good to be back. How have you been? I'm 160 days clean. How about that? Sober Jeff.
Brother, 160. You're an absolute stud. I am still on vacation, but I love wrestling so much that we're talking wrestling even when I'm on vacation.
That is true.
And we're going to get right into it. And the show's going to be a little bit different. I used to give you guys some play-by-plays to kind of catch you up on the shows you missed, but we're not doing that anymore because you're already watching the shows. You already like wrestling. You don't need my Howard Cosell impression. So we're just going to talk storylines, what we think's going on, what we want to happen. I liked it too, but we're evolving. And we're going to get into it now. I would like to start the show with our quick predictions. These are just us flying through the predictions, and then we'll touch back on the storylines that we think have hit really hard, whether they're A stories or B stories. And it's going to start right now. Let's get some sick prediction music and make our producer work even harder. Maybe we can get a little prediction music in the background. And if it's quiet, that means he basically gave us the middle finger, you guys.
I never feel bad about making him work, you know?
That's right. No, you shouldn't. All right, here we go. LA Knight versus AJ Styles. I'm taking LA Knight. Jeff, who you got?
I'm taking LA Knight, although we should point out that AJ Styles is looking jacked lately. I don't know what's going on. He's
super jacked.
But I pick LA Knight. Always will, always have.
When I grow up, I'm going to look like AJ Styles. All right, the Intercontinental Championship, which has been a fun story. Gunther, the champion, versus Sami Zayn. Am I going to go crazy and go Sami Zayn? Do I have the guts to predict first? No, I do not. Jeff, you go ahead and predict first.
I'm taking the formerly Fat Boy Gunther. That's my guy. I love him. I love the story, love the journey, love the look. I'm going for Gunther. Retains.
I think you're right, but the storyline suckered me in, and I'm going for the underdog who just needs to get his mental right, like Chad Gable said, Sami Zayn. Next up is the United States Championship. Logan Paul and his sweet red Corvette versus Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. I'm not sure if the Corvette's allowed in the match or not, but I am taking Logan Paul to retain the U.S. Championship, sir. How about you?
I am definitely taking Logan Paul. I mean, there's nothing bigger in the news right now in sports entertainment as the other sports are getting closer to blur that line between fake and real with his brother fighting Mike Tyson. So I think you got to keep the strap on the Paul brother, Logan. I'm a big fan, and so I not only want Logan to retain, but I believe that he also will.
Jeff, this next match is even more deadlier than if you and I wrestled because it's brother versus brother. Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. Who you got winning this match?
All right, this I am picking. Big event. Jey Uso. I think you got to go with Jey. I also think it's going to be very confusing. I hope they dress different. That's the risk you take when you have twins fight each other. You don't know who's who. And so, it's going to be very tricky to watch. Hopefully they dress different. I picked Jey.
You could even hit yourself. All right, I am going to go the other way on this. Jimmy has been eating too much crap for the last few weeks. He's been in heel purgatory, and I think this is the time where he's going to shine, and it's going to have to, kind of lengthen this rivalry out. So I'm going with Jimmy Uso. Next up, the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships, the Judgment Day, who are the champions, versus DIY, sometimes known as New DX, versus the New Day, versus Awesome Truth, versus A-Town Down, versus New Catch Republic in a six-pack ladder match. I am not taking the Judgment Day to retain. I think we're going to go across the pond, and I think the New Catch Republic can pull off a win.
There's no way you think that that's really what's going to happen.
I think is it the dark horse? Yes. But I do think they're going to give these boys a chance on SmackDown to kind of get over, and the tag team titles aren't necessary for Judgment Day in order for Judgment Day to be cool. So I think they want to try to give some new people a chance. And I'm sticking with New Catch Republic, but I appreciate you giving me an out.
I will say, Freddie, I'm checking Vegas right here. If you're not watching this, you're just listening. I am clicking on my phone here, checking the Vegas odds. The Vegas odds of New Catch Republic winning, 7 billion to 1. So I think that you would be very rich. Not good.
I put 100 down on it.
I'm going to be more rich, Freddie. I'm going to pick New Day. I'm going to pick the New Day. I think it's time to bring that back. They've been pretty quiet these last few years as far as the things have been going. Quiet. It seems like maybe the people have forgotten that they're the greatest tag team and stable, if you will, in the modern era. And it's time that they get their comeuppance. I think that we're going to see a whole new storyline, a whole new push for the New Day again. I hope. I think that's my prayer.
Well, now it's time for the big dogs. The WWE Women's Championship, Io Sky, the champion, versus her former friend, Bayley. Jeff, who's going to win this match?
I think Io Sky is going to win this match, but I think we're going to see a whole lot of shenanigans. But I do think in the end, Io Sky is who will retain the strap, as they call it in wrestling.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say Bayley finally gets her WrestleMania moment. She wins her singles match. She becomes the women's champion. Speaking of women's champions, our favorite women's champion. Ladies and gentlemen, the women's world champion, Rhea Ripley, versus the Irish lass kicker, Becky Lynch, the former champion. Look, it's Rhea Ripley all day. This show's loved her since day one. This show will love her till day 1 million. Rhea Ripley all day long to retain the championship. Jeff, what do you say?
I love this match because, as you know, we love both of these wrestlers. And we love Rhea. You just said it. I don't know why I'm reiterating, but we'll always love Rhea. She's a star. She's an actual star. But I think Rhea Ripley is going to win, and Becky's going to put her over to make her even bigger of a star than she already is.
Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins versus The Rock and Roman Reigns. This is the easiest call of the night. It's The Rock and Roman Reigns that's going to win this. Otherwise, there's no bloodline in the main event the next day. If you want to get 8 billion to 1 odds, you can go the other way and do your own New Catch version. But I'm pretty sure we agree on this one.
Yeah, this is all day bloodline. There's zero chance they don't. The Rock and Roman don't lose ever. Now you're going to put them together. They're going to win. There's just no way your TV will break before those guys lose.
Now, before we do Roman, Cody, because I think that's the main one, let's switch to the World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. If you believe the internet and the injury reports and things like that, you may think you know which way it's going. However, Seth Rollins is a pretty tough dude and may have said, screw surgery, I'm going to just rehab. And that's why he hasn't been wrestling too much, and he could be healthy. And because of that, I am going to go with Drew McIntyre.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm also going to pick Drew McIntyre, and I think that this is, I don't know how contracts work. I don't know how this stuff works, but I think that this is the way of being like, look, Drew, stay with us, stay in WWE. Did he already sign a contract? Has that happened?
I don't know. I think the last I heard, it's still floating in the ether.
Okay, well, I'm still 8-year-old Jeff who doesn't know a lot about the contracts and those kind of things. I don't look into that. I just love wrestling and watch wrestling. I don't know about that stuff, but I think this might be a way that they go, we love you here, Drew. Don't leave us. Don't go over to all the other things. Stay. So I think that this is I think that he wins. I think Drew beats Seth.
The main event, the end of the line, the finished story. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. And based off our prediction of the tag match, it'll be Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns versus the Bloodline versus probably a new guy that's coming in as well. It's going to be a lot of Samoans that don't like Cody. And I'm picking Cody Rhodes to climb to the top of the mountain and stand there, not like Moses, but just as powerful as Moses.
when we talk about the bloodline of Roman Reigns, The Rock, or any of the bloodline. One thing we know is Solo Sikoa is not going to win.
Last win my man got was against John Cena.
But I think for this match, Roman Reigns crushes Cody Rhodes.
Okay, well then, based off that, let's go right into that storyline, which is the A storyline of both brands. It's been floating from Raw to SmackDown, and that's, will Cody Rhodes be able to finish his story? And while we were gone, The Rock decided, hey, there's going to be an IATSE strike, and there's no movies getting made, so I'm going back to professional wrestling. And ever since he has come back, it's the only good thing that a potential strike could bring was The Rock. And it has been a really damn good story. I don't want to say it's better than the Sami Zayn bloodline storyline because it's so different. It's hard to compare the two. It's like comparing dessert to dinner. So, but I will say this, since he's come back, whether the crowd has booed him or cheered him or changed their mind in the middle of his promo, it has been awesome since Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson returned to professional wrestling. And the stuff that he has done to Cody makes me think that your prediction can't be right because he beat Cody's ass so bad. He's doing all this stuff for what? To get Roman over more? I can't imagine that. I feel like all this stuff has to be the ultimate obstacles put in place in order for Cody to overcome them and reach the top of the mountain. If he doesn't, if you're right, he becomes, forgive me for going Greek mythology here, but he becomes Sisyphus. Sisyphus was cursed by the gods to roll this boulder up a mountain only for it to roll all the way back down. And he couldn't break this curse until he got the boulder to the top of the mountain, but the curse wouldn't let him do it. So for all eternity, he just would roll this rock up, and at some point on the way up, it would go all the way back down to the bottom. Sisyphus, we also use the short nickname Sissy. And Cody ain't no sissy, and Cody ain't no punk. And I like that men can cry on television. I like that. This old school thing of men don't cry, do this and be tough. That's what gives men heart attacks and makes us die 7 years earlier than women. And I'd like to live, and I want to see Cody live a long life too. So I like that he's been able to show emotion and be honest there. And I think with all that he's laid down on the line and everything that's happened to him, if they did him wrong and made him lose this match, I'll tell you what I think's going to happen. You want to know what I think's going to happen? You didn't see him punk me. That was nice. Remember when Seth Rollins was like, you know what I think? Nope. That was dirty. Anyway, it was really funny though. I think the first night the bloodline wins, and that means that there can be complete interference in the main event. And I think in the main event, there will be interference from The Rock and from Solo and from maybe even Jimmy Uso and maybe even a new guy, this dude that WWE's been wanting to sign. I think his name's Tonga. I think he might even be introduced. But I think The Rock is going to turn on Roman Reigns on the second night. I think it's all been a ruse. I think they planned it on the phone call when they first spoke as far as storyline goes. And I think The Rock is going to help Cody the second night to win the WWE Championship. And then that takes us to The Rock versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam to see who the head of the table can finally be. I think that's what they're going to do. I'm usually wrong on this stuff, but I kind of hope I'm right this time. Do you believe any of what I just said? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do believe. I think you know way more about this stuff than I do. But like I said, 8-year-old Jeff going, here's wrestling with my toys, going, here's what I think. This is what I think.
The toys are behind you, by the way. You really have them.
Right? What is Greek mythology without Sisyphus, Freddie? Sisyphus is part of it. You've got the other gods, and you have Sisyphus. And you've got the other gods, The Rock, Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles. You got all the other people climbing to be gods. And that is what Cody Rhodes is. He is Sisyphus, who will later have his godlike moment. I don't think Cody Rhodes is doomed to be Sisyphus forever, but I think that is just hard times, baby.
It's been hard times for 2 years, though.
Let me tell you, that Sisyphus did hard times forever, baby. I think if Cody Rhodes loses, then when The Rock is versus Roman Reigns, it's for just more than the head of the table. You know, there's a belt on the line. I don't know. I feel like that's why they're going that way. I would like to have a conversation with you if you're interested in what you think about The Rock just dropping F-bomb after F-bomb after F-bomb and then spinning it Like, oh, well, I don't care about this censorship. They can't censor me. Oh, like, that's what comics do. Like, corny comics like me like to go, I push the boundaries because I can't be censored. But, like, bro, you're being censored by network. The television is what's making you, it's not like your First Amendment rights. This television is saying, please don't say the F word a bunch. And then all the other wrestlers have to follow those rules. And he's the only one that gets to break the rules. It seems, I'd love to know what you think about that.
I equate it to a football team, right? Like the same rules apply to everyone based on your talent. And that's why quarterbacks get treated differently. That's why the star players get away with more. That's why Russell Wilson had 2 offices before a new coach came in and was like, wait, you have your own parking space and you're double. Like, no, you don't have any of that. I think people get treated differently based on what the company feels they bring to the table. And I think The Rock is allowed to do whatever he wants, fair or not. The wrestling business has never been fair. The way show business treats actors, I promise, is not equal. I've experienced it. You've experienced it. So yeah, man, is it fair? No. But does everyone but MJF get to say F-bombs too? No. MJF dropped an F-bomb and it became like one of the biggest promos of the year a couple years ago. They even called it the pipe bomb promo. So yeah, man, I think as long as you're willing to get bleeped and as long as your company's willing to pay the fines, then it's okay. It's okay. But there are fines. They're just a multi-billion-dollar company. So they're like, oh yeah, we're real sorry. Here's the fine. It's like Randy Orton prepaying fines.
I don't mind The Rock doing it. Like, it doesn't bother me. And I totally agree with you that, like, yeah, there's different rules for different people. That's just how it works. Like, there's a difference between me going over my time and burning the light at the Laugh Factory and Dave Chappelle burning the light at the. There's a big difference. We can see the differences. So there might be guys like me complaining in the green room about guys like Dave Chappelle, for this analogy. And so I get that, like, maybe the wrestlers are going, he gets to say the F word and we don't. That's not what I'm saying. That's like whatever. But I don't think that it seems like The Rock gets to seem like he's so badass for saying the F word. If we're having conversations every 3 months,
but that's character. That's all.
But don't we have conversations like every 3 months in the wrestling world of like blood or no blood or what's inappropriate for kids and what's not, and cleavage and butts and like what is appropriate? Like DX was much less appropriate than the Heart Foundation. So there's always these conversations about what is. So now we're in a place where like, oh, we're doing all these things that are appropriate. And then The Rock just comes in and goes, fuck that. You believe this fucking, like, just F. And I'm going, I could see that it isn't about the latter, about who is and who isn't, as much as it is about like, he's just breaking the rule of what we've decided is appropriate in wrestling currently. It seems. I don't know. Maybe I'm making too much of it.
I will say this. His F-bombs don't come until the final hour, so less kids, as far as demographics, are watching the third hour of Raw. They watch the first hour of Raw into the second. So yeah, so that's the first thing. Secondly, none of this is going without an approval. Like none of this. The Sam Roberts says everything counts or everything matters, I think he says. And that's all this is. Like, this is all pre-planned. This has all been approved. This has all been okayed by somebody up the line. And maybe it's The Rock simply saying, hey, I'm okaying this. I'm approving this. I'm on the board. But even that's a bit of a character. Even though he is on the board, that's still a bit of a character. Triple H is in charge. Triple H is writing these stories. Triple H is the one okaying everything or saying, no, you can't do this. He's the reason the show's been so damn good. So if you're not getting the okay through creative, it's not happening. Is The Rock a strong part of creative? Sure. Is he probably approving some of this stuff? Yeah. But I guarantee you everyone's on board except people that are jealous they can't say it. Because there's people who go, well, if I could drop an F-bomb, I could say a sick promo too. Those people exist. Yeah. But that's life. Like if I talk trash about another actor, I could get blacklisted. If George Clooney did it, they'd be like, that guy's an ass. Like, not George, the guy he's talking about. They'd be like, oh, I agree with George. But if I do it, they'd be like, oh, that guy's a jerk, man. He's just jealous. Yeah. So I think that's the world we fall in, which is show business has different rules.
Yep. That's life, actually. Not just show business, but you're right. I agree.
Well, yeah, you're right. We won't have time to cover every story, but I definitely want to cover the Seth Drew thing because I think there's a little bit of a debate there on is Seth not healthy enough to be champ right now? Is he going to have a surgery? But I think they've done a really good job with the A stories and the B stories from the LWO versus Legado, which I think has become a real compelling storyline. It's not an A story, but neither is AJ and LA Knight. Let's talk first then about the Intercontinental Championship, which is probably the most of the B stories. Gunther is the man. Like this guy, he didn't get handed anything. He got handed the belt, but what he did with the belt was elevate the Intercontinental Championship to the point where I don't even think he necessarily needs it anymore. You can start to push him towards larger things if that's something you want. However, his work in the ring it doesn't remind me of WWE matches. It almost reminds me of AEW matches with the amount of chop that he'll do in a match. His power wrestling almost looks like I'm watching a Japanese match sometimes. I've been watching some Japanese wrestling over our hiatus, and those fools hit so hard, but it looks like a Gunther match. And then there's Sami Zayn, which is the John McClane from Die Hard of the WWE. He's the guy that everyone can relate to. He's the reason when average guys go, oh, if I was in Die Hard, I'd have done the same thing. I'd have fought all 17 terrorists. It's like Sami Zayn is that guy. He is John McClane. He is the everyman. I love him so, so much. And his story has been one where this dude, Chad Gable, for those of you who don't know, is a legit like amateur wrestler, super, super duper good. The fans really like him. The company's never given him a big push, but he had a great match with Gunther. And he's been talking to Sammy over the last few weeks because he told Sammy to his face, you can't beat him. And that's the story. You can't beat him. I don't believe in you. If I don't believe in you, you're not going to believe in you. And you see Sammy, he's a good actor, man. You see these seeds of doubt in his head, and you see him finally come to Chad after a couple weeks of TV, and he goes, okay, what? What do I have to do? This guy's in my head. I can't get him out. What do I have to do? And Chad becomes this like mentor, and not in the goofy comedy alpha team way or team alpha, whatever the name of his club is. It's not like that where he's like, thank you. This has been a serious, like, yo, you're in a fight. And it was almost like Apollo Creed and Rocky. You know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with you, man? If you don't do this, you're going to get killed out there. Like, it's almost been that kind of a story. And Sami Zayn is maybe the better comparison than John McClane is Rocky, because he represents so much of that minus the punchiness. But I love this dude so much. His work's so clean. His mic work's so clean. And he's made me believe he's going to win this match. I know you don't believe it.
You know, maybe you're forgetting last season. I came around on Sami Zayn. When the world came around, I'm like the masses, you know? Like I was hater till I wasn't. I really like Sami Zayn. I do really love Gunther. I feel like they're similar in the fashion of, you know, they're not your prototypical wrestler. They feel like a prototypical wrestling fan who's become wrestler. Like, I think they're more us than they are them. That's why I like both of them, and I'm a big fan. But I am afraid that Sami Zayn's biggest pop might be behind him. I don't know. Like, I don't see him doing better than what he did in the Bloodline. Instead of the Bloodline being evidence of what he's capable of, I think that was his masterpiece. I feel like we're kind of like that is what I'm afraid of. I'd like to be wrong on this, but I don't really. He's had so many different chapters in his career, and so hopefully he can reinvent himself again. I don't know. It's been exciting to watch, but it hasn't. It feels like just another thing where I'm waiting to get to the next story.
Let me offer you a wager, a steak dinner wager.
Ooh, I like this.
I bet you that Sami Zayn is the WWE World Champion in 5 years or less.
I'll take that bet.
Yeah? Okay, that's a bet. Digital handshake, since we're far away from one another.
Everyone
steak
heard
dinner.
it. You all saw it. I hope you like Outback Steakhouse. Sami Zayn will be wearing the strap, and I'll be spending about $30 on our dinner.
You made me swallow my own spit and choke, man.
5 years, though. That's a long time. But I don't.
No, dude. I think he's got another. Yeah. Well, I think he's got another decade in this business before the Father Time starts saying, "Oh, why are you still doing this?" And I think he's so talented on the mic that I think Hunter sees a lot in him. I think there's a lot there for him. There's just not opportunity right now because the story is Cody or the story is Drew. But I don't think he'll be the world heavyweight champion, although he could be. I think he'll be the WWE Universal Champion within 5 years. All right, let's move to the next story. LA Knight versus AJ Styles. This is a trickier one for me because I think LA Knight is an A story only guy, and he's in a B story right now with AJ Styles. I will say this, though. You can't get too mad at it because there's only so much room on the card. There's only so many hours of television. There's only so many opportunities for these guys to have big time stories. So for that, I think they're trying to say, hey, man, we're giving you something for WrestleMania here. You know, hold tight, stay patient. We got a plan for you. We can only push so many guys at once. LA Knight sort of pushes himself. He hasn't really needed the company, which is what's so amazing about LA Knight. So when I first saw the story in the match, I was kind of like, man, he deserves bigger, not better, but bigger, because AJ Styles is great. His work in the ring is phenomenal. And so for that, it's good. But I want more for LA Knight because I feel like the older guys are on a clock. I know he hasn't taken as much damage maybe because he wasn't working the 340 days a year that WWE guys work his whole career. But the older guys to me are always on a clock. I'm 48 years old. I feel like I'm on a damn clock sometimes. So I want great things for LA Knight, not good things, great things. I know they gave him a little with Saudi Arabia and he got screwed by the bloodline like everybody does. But when I first heard the match, I was like, man, I wish he was in an A story. However, this is still a WrestleMania opportunity, and those two I think are going to make the most of it and give a super duper good match. What about you, dude?
I agree. I think I am the LA Knight of stand-up comedy. You know, you go, hey, I think this guy's got something real special. And then you're like, he's been around for a while. And everyone's like, what? He's not new,
I love this take.
You see the age, you look at the numbers, you go, what's going on? I just noticed him. I just noticed this guy. So for that reason, like, I really like him and identify with him. And I hope that he gets a lot soon because I think that, like, if he's going to overlap his career and story with what other wrestlers have done, as huge as he is and as great as he is and as talented as he is, he's not as far along as maybe the other wrestlers were or are when they were his age. So I want a lot to happen for him soon. So every time a guy gets, screwed in a way, or he gets overlooked, or he loses heat, or doesn't get put over, I think it's okay. They got time. Like it's okay. But whenever it happens to LA Knight, I get like really anxious. Like, I don't know. Like I wanted this to be it. I'm like a lot of fans where I want to see him blow up. Like I want it now. I'm pushing it. I feel like that. Big fan of LA Knight. I'm in his corner and I want it. I want him to succeed and have all the success now. I don't want a Sami Zayn to be getting a strap. He's been around a long time, had a lot of shots. I want the LA Knight to be a main face, the next face.
All right. Last but certainly not least, Seth Rollins, the world heavyweight champion, versus Drew McIntyre. This match was originally supposed to be CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, but Drew McIntyre ripped his arm off his body and tore his pec and his biceps or whatever he did in the Royal Rumble. And Drew McIntyre laughs about it and jokes about it every week. Ha, 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 I beat you, old man. He got the match. I've been really impressed with Drew. He's been trolling the crowd. He's been, even when they CM Punk chant him, he like goes off script and is like, oh yeah, you missed that guy. I'm the one that did it. Yeah. Keep booing. Like he's been playing with the crowd, and that's not an easy thing to do. That can lose a segment real quick. All the energy can just leave the room if you're not good at it. We've seen it happen a million times in wrestling, and we've only seen it work a handful of times in wrestling. And that to me is what makes it so impressive coming from Drew, because I've never seen him do that before. I've never seen him have the crowd eaten out of his hand. I've never seen him, guiding them like a stagecoach with a horse, like with the reins on a horse where you're turning right, whether you like it or not. And the horse turns right. Like that's what Drew's been doing at a super duper high level. They brought CM Punk back into the story last week a little bit. I think there was talk that he might be the ref, but I don't think that's going to happen because he's in rehab, even though he demonstrated with his good arm, he can still count to 3. Drew has done something really smart with this, and creative should get credit as well. They get bagged on enough when stories don't work. They should get them when they do. They've really put this together well, and I'm excited for the match. And I think Drew McIntyre is going to win it and be the world's heavyweight champion. What about you?
That's what I hope happens. I think Drew McIntyre is very, very underrated. The way I use underrated is the way I've used it on this show many times. People say, what? They made him champ. I just think he's underrated in comparison to the way we talk and treat other wrestlers. Not that he doesn't get pushes and not that he isn't getting whatever. I just think we don't talk about him the way we should. The dude's a star. He's huge. He's great on the mic. He's got a great, even the leaving and coming back is a great story. Like he's ripped. He's got the Vince attributes and the Triple H attributes, the things that everyone's kind of looking for. He checks all the boxes. So I'm a huge, huge Drew McIntyre fan. He's heelish at times while not being. Like, he really is good at, he's kind of all the things. He just feels like a real guy. And I really like that about him. That being said, I hope that he wins. I hope that he stays. I will feel much differently than all the things I just said if I see him go on AEW all of a sudden and, by whatever his real name is, Joseph, Williams or whatever. I'm going to get annoyed and everyone's going to be like, he's in AEW, he's in AEW. I was going to get mad. Anyways, that's how I feel about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for listening each and every week. We're going to get into more of this stuff deeper, more of the stuff that we missed when we were gone on Unsanctioned Thursdays. Please leave us some reviews. If they're awesome, we might even read them on the show. If they're super mean, Jeff might even read them on the show.
Yeah.
But give us those 5-star reviews if you think we're worthy of it. We appreciate you guys very much. And don't ever forget that Jade Cargill is back in professional wrestling and kicking ass all over the place. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a production of iHeart's My Cultura podcast network. For more podcasts from iHeart, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. This has been Wrestling with Friends. Wrestling with Freddie.